All right, today we have on Miss Katie Mattox. She is with the 21st Century Packhorse Library. Ma'am, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
It's an honor to have you on. It was kind of last minute, but here we are.
I'm happy to be here. Anything to let people know about our project.
So before we go into that, we usually like to start with the person. Where did you grow up? And tell us a little about your childhood.
I am from Abingdon, Virginia. I was born and raised there. Always been from Appalachia. Love living there. My mom was a teacher, so that really instilled the love of reading into me. I am in EMS, so I'm on the ambulance for my regular job. I do 24-hour shifts. My husband is also a critical care paramedic, so he does shifts as well. And our daughter is in EMS. And
it's a whole family.
Yeah. And she's also an emergency nurse, and then her son's in high school.
Yeah. I'd like to touch back on that in just a second. Did you go to Abingdon High School?
I did go to Abingdon High School, class of 1998.
We've ran there quite a bit. That was always one of my favorite places to run because they have such a nice track.
It's brand new.
It's beautiful. It is, yes.
Yeah. Was EMS something that you always saw yourself doing, or did you go to school for it, or did you want to go to college, or how did that work out?
I originally was going to go to college for business, and then really couldn't find exactly what I wanted to do. So I had a few different jobs. I was a nanny for an NFL football player for a little while in Jacksonville, Florida. I have done a little bit of everything, but when I met my husband, he was on Washington County Life Saving Crew. And just hanging around there and meeting the people, I realized that EMS is really a family, and that it was a family I wanted to be a part of.
How did you and your husband meet?
We met when we were in college, and he was going to school to finish his paramedic, and I was in college as well. We met in biology class.
Neat.
Yeah.
There you go. So you got into EMS.
Yes.
What was that like? Was it a learning curve at first, being around that traumatic events?
It was, because I was never one to think that I liked blood and vomit and that kind of thing. So I didn't expect it to be a career that I would enjoy as much as I do. But I've always loved serving my community, and that was a way that I found that I could serve my community that not everybody else could do.
Yes, ma'am.
It takes a different person to be able to handle the blood and guts and
The 24-hour
things.
shifts.
And 24-hour shifts, yes.
What's that like? Do you remember the first 24-hour shift that you worked?
Well, sometimes we end up doing more than 24. When I was on the life-saving crew more, I'm still a life member at Washington County Life Saving Crew, but when I was pulling there a lot more, we sometimes would do 48-hour shifts and things like that. So it's just something that you get used to. We get to rest between the calls if we're not on a call. But I think the adrenaline pushes you through, and you don't really think about being tired. But when I came into the profession, I already had children. So I was used to being tired.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you have to rely on caffeine or anything like that?
I relied on caffeine a whole lot, a lot of Red Bulls and things. My husband is a coffee junkie, so sometimes I'll hit the coffee, the Red Bull or something like that. Cherry Coke's my go-to now.
Now, have you and your husband ever worked in an ambulance at the same time
Sometimes
together?
We do sometimes, and then sometimes we've also worked with our daughter, so there have been some shifts where all three of us have been on. But with our son being in high school, usually one of us will try to be off so we can be at his activities or make sure he gets to football practice and things like that.
Yeah. So you said that you had children before you started working in EMS. What's that work-family life balance for you as a mother, working long hours and having those children?
I'm very lucky that my husband is also a very active parent.
Yeah.
So They, of course, love having mom home, but he does as much cooking and cleaning and taking care of them as I do. So it really balances out well because we're lucky that we have that kind of relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And this question is somewhat related. How has being a paramedic and working in EMS affected your life as a mom?
I think that being in EMS, we see a little bit of everything. Sometimes it makes me more cautious.
Yeah.
You know that you don't only know that having a wreck in a vehicle is a chance, you know exactly what happens when that wreck happens. You know, so you think more into things, I believe, but it has also helped me understand that a child doesn't have to go to the ER for every little sickness or anything. But our son is a type 1 diabetic, so it really helped when he was diagnosed because we had a medical background to help us understand his diagnosis and work through that.
Certainly, yeah.
Before we move on to a different topic, looking back at your time as being in the EMS, what has been your greatest achievement? And what, when you look back on, you wish that you could change?
One of my greatest achievements in EMS is probably seeing the joy that we were able to instill in our daughter in the profession and seeing how much she loves it and how much emergency medicine means to her. I am lucky that I am a life member at Washington County Life Saving Crew in Abingdon, Virginia, and my paid job now is with Richardson Ambulance Service, and I work out of the Glade Spring 911 station there. But my home agency is a very strong agency. Started out as volunteer. When I first started, I was volunteer. And I think that you learn a lot when you are surrounded by strong providers. And when I first came into EMS, I was lucky enough at Washington County Life Saving Crew to be surrounded by some of the best in the state. They've won numerous awards statewide with our competition teams and things like that, and that was wonderful. Now at Richardson Ambulance Service, I work with some other amazing providers with a CEO that absolutely believes in family. And so that works out really well because my husband and I both work there. And we're able to, like the other night, I was able to take off for a few hours just to go to the football awards. And you don't always find that. One thing that I would change would probably be to not be as immersed in it as I was for a while, because it was nothing for me to work like 48 or 72 hours, and that's a long time to be away from your family. But I felt really good about serving my community and being able to serve my community, but I wish sometimes that I had not worked such long shifts at the times that I did.
So you did mention that you're from Abingdon, Virginia.
I am.
That's your home. What's special about that to you, if you can sum that up? I know that might be hard.
South Holston Lake. I was born and raised out at the lake, and I remember water skiing when I was younger. And we've had a lot of good times out at the lake. And my family grew up out there. My grandfather and grandmother bought a small home in what was a fishing camp out there years ago. They came over from the coal mines from Grundy. And a lot of the area that I grew up in, those people came from Grundy, so they all knew each other. But they worked really hard to build what we have and the area that my family still lives in today. But I was lucky to grow up in a multi-generational home. And I feel like I learned a whole lot from that, not only personally and about myself and about growing up, but you learn a lot about what you're surrounded by in the lake, and hearing their fun stories about it as well. But definitely I'd say South Holston.
Multi-generational homes aren't that common anymore. Can you talk a little about the advantages of that sort of setup?
I was blessed to live with my mom and my grandmother for a very long time. And my mom worked multiple jobs to save money to build her own home, and that she still lives in today. But I was raised by two very strong, independent, hardworking women. And then, my grandmother always working multiple jobs and working very hard, and my mom doing the same. And then every once in a while, my mom is one of six,
Wow.
so there may have been other aunts and uncles living there at the time and things, but you learn something from everybody, and being surrounded by some very strong individuals that make up my family really made me who I am today.
Were there any lessons that you've taken from your family that you've specifically imparted onto your children?
I believe seeing how hard my family works has made me instill in them how hard you should work and the quality of work that you should provide when you are in a job.
Yeah. You mentioned how important Appalachia is to you. I think that hard work and attitude kind of runs in that as well.
It really does.
Can you talk about Appalachia and when you really started to realize how special it was to you?
I tried for a very short amount of time to move to the beach. And I moved to Florida, right outside of Jacksonville on the beach, and out at Neptune Beach. I went in with the typical Southern attitude. I waved at everybody, said hi to everybody, and realized real quick that everybody there didn't do that back. But I think that I really realized then that the friendliness of people back home, and how we talk to everybody. We everybody knows everybody in some way, and things like that. And that's one of the most important things to me. And when I moved away, I really realized that that wasn't for me. And it was a very short amount of time that I lived there.
Well, we have an Appalachian podcast, and in talking to different people, you realize just how important this place is to you. And that's made it more important to us too.
I do have a follow-up question. It's somewhat related, and we've asked a number of guests this, but specifically, what does it mean to you to be an Appalachian? Not just the friendliness and the accent and the location, but deep into your identity.
I think that it's the hard work, the work ethic, the belief in family, and to be proud of who you are and where you come from. My uncle was a coal miner. My grandfather was a coal miner. My other uncle worked in the mine some, is now a mining engineer. So all of that started over there, the hard work, and then when everybody ended up in Abingdon, they continued in different professions, but working just as hard. And we are still as close as a family. So I think really the work ethic and the importance of family and things like that are really what it means to me, being true to who you are and being proud of who you are. And I'm very proud to be Appalachian.
The reason we're sitting here talking today is because of the 21st Century Packhorse Library. Can you talk about how that got started and your experience with Hurricane Helene and how that affected your area?
And can you give us a little bit of background about what a Packhorse Library is for our listeners who don't know?
So.
The Packhorse Librarian Project actually started during the Depression in Kentucky. The Packhorse Librarians would take books and periodicals, newspapers, different things on their pack mules or their horses into the more remote areas of Kentucky, getting the reading materials to schools as well as homes. bringing that to us, to the modern day 21st Century Packhorse Library project. It was started by Kirsten Turner, our founder. She currently lives in South Carolina, but she's from North Carolina and had family in Western North Carolina after Helene.
Yes.
They spent quite a bit of time helping in other ways, whether they were cleaning up or taking supplies or whatever they were doing. And she decided one day that she wanted to do something to bring smiles to people, to do something a little different. She went through her home collection of books and talked to some people that lived in her area, got a few donations, and her husband headed up to Western North Carolina with a pickup truck load of books and went into a parking lot and saw how happy it made people to give those away. And of course she encountered some people that had lost everything, but for some it was just being able to have a book to use as an escape from what was the horrible reality of that time.
Have you had the opportunity to go down to Western North Carolina yourself?
I have. The day the storm hit, our agency called what we call a Signal 100, where they did an all-call. I knew the next day, though, that I was going on for a 48-hour shift, so I didn't go in with them knowing that I was going to have to be available for the next 48 hours. After talking to a few people, I found other ways to volunteer, other ways to help out. And I have been to North Carolina to feed volunteers. I've tried to do things after this event that were not EMS related. Usually I dive in with EMS, and this time I wanted to help in a different way. So I went down, we fed volunteers in Burnsville, and worked at a distribution hub there. Some of the people we were with helped organize there and things. I have done, I went through an area and dropped off a bunch of donations that we were given, went through Conrock, the White Top area, Troutdale, Rugby, that area, and took things to them. But with the Packhorse Librarians, I went and helped in Black Mountain at a big book giveaway we did there. That's the only one that I've done in that area.
How did you get linked up with the Packhorse Library?
Kirsten had posted in a Burnsville, North Carolina group about a book giveaway that she was going to do. And it got my attention, and I messaged her out of the blue. I don't know why. It really stuck out to me, and I said, this is a wonderful project. It's amazing, and I'm really proud of you and what you're doing. And I had no idea who she was at that point. Told her where I was from, and she said, well, I have another girl that is interested in helping in Northeast Tennessee. Would you be interested in helping in Southwest Virginia? And all of that transpired in maybe 24 hours time.
Wow. That's
So
quick.
it was, I just saw her post and just was like, hey, that's a great idea. And next thing you know, I'm roped into helping.
Is she here with you today?
She is not. I met up with her yesterday, and if we get an abundance of a certain type of item or something like that, we will share back and forth. So I met with her yesterday, and she gave me some extra Bibles that she had to bring here, and a few extra younger readers. And her name is Brittany Smith, and she covers a lot of events in everywhere from like Newport, Irwin, all over that area. She's all over the place and does quite a bit there.
So the Packhorse Library is purely donation based, correct?
We are.
How do y'all have trouble finding books, or do you have an abundance of donations, or how does that work, that process?
Well, we have separated in a way that we found works for us. Kirsten Turner, like I said, she's the founder. She has Western North Carolina. Brittany Smith has Northeast Tennessee. I have Southwest Virginia. In the high country of North Carolina, covering like Ashe County and that area, as well as some in Johnson County, Tennessee, because we needed somebody there, is Caitlin. And she does a lot of homeschool materials and things. I don't do as much of that because I just don't have the knowledge in it.
Sure.
So she does, and she knew that there was a demand for it there, as well as Kirsten. She does a lot of homeschool materials as well. We all get what we need. Like they get their homeschool materials in those areas. We all have our own Amazon wish list. And then, like, we had several people at this event that just showed up with books. And you can also mail them to us via media mail, which is a lot less expensive.
Okay. Do you have a website yet?
We are in the process of getting a website, and it will just be one. Like right now, our Facebook pages are all separate for each area, but the website will be for all of us and include every area.
And is this something that y'all are looking to expand into more regions of the country, or trying to keep it Appalachia?
We do intend on keeping it only in like the Blue Ridge Mountain area of Appalachia, because that's where our hearts are. And we found at the beginning that people wanted something to replace what they had lost. And then the more we talked to people, we found that it was really, for some, so much more than that, because books are truly a luxury. And they, for some people, are not an option of purchasing. And we've heard, well, why can't they go to the library? Well, they probably could, but it doesn't mean that they can afford the gas to get to the library and things, you know. So everyone's situation is different. You don't know what they're going through or what their life is like, or, you know, did they just have to pay a big bill or something like that. So we do want to continue, because we found that it's about so much more than just dealing with the aftermath of a storm.
And people are proud of their own books. I mean, John Adams, when he got his first book, he wrote his name in it like 10 times.
They are.
Because people take pride in that stuff. And I think that's really special.
I found that it's very hard to get people to donate their own books.
Yes.
Because it is also hard for me to donate out of my own books. I will go buy books to bring here before I will take out of my own.
You know, I came today and looked at the books myself and got a few, and there was some really good stuff here.
We do get very good books.
Very good books.
I read online that y'all mostly focus on classics.
We on our Amazon wish list, we do try to keep a lot of the classics on there, because I feel like when individuals walk into a bookstore, that's not the first place that they go. But a lot of us remember them from our childhood, or remember seeing it in a family member's house or something like that. But they've slipped our minds. They're not the first one we go to in the library or whatever. And we do try to keep a lot of the classics on our wish list. We will take anything that is what we call family appropriate. I can't, I don't want a child to leave with something that their parents really may not want them to have. So we do have limits in that way. But we also say that if you donate, we ask that you donate something that you would be proud to take home to your family. We don't ever want anybody to feel less than. So I don't want you to take home a book that is not in a condition that I would be happy taking home. So that's what we ask when people donate gently loved books, that they're in a condition that they would be proud to have.
Well, they were really nice. And me and Ethan both loved classics. And there was like Fitzgerald and Faulkner and all these, just, I mean, heavy hitters. And that's a really good books. So for those of you who are listening, I mean, the books here, they're fantastic. So.
And we tell people, you know, if you, our new book table is the only one that we limit on how many you can have. At this event, we had so many people that it was like 1 or 2 per person. Sometimes if it's not as large of an event, we may say like 3 per person or something, but we like for as many people to have the option of taking home a new book as possible. But when they ask, what can I do to give back? I will point them in the direction of our wish list, because there is something that everyone can afford. I feel like, some of the books on there may be $4 or $5, and then if you can give one book, we're happy with that. We absolutely love anything that anyone's able to give. When it comes to the classics, we've also found that there are board book versions of some of the classics. So I've been very excited to be able to offer those to some of the younger kids. Like we had a Anne of Green Gables board book here that we were able to give to somebody today.
And classics are something that are sometimes hard to get your hands on, especially like Barnes and Nobles, because they usually tend to be more expensive, or some of the most expensive books. So to provide that to people, I mean, that's a really good opportunity to really.
And we have found some very affordable ones. Puffin Publishing has some wonderful options for affordable classics, and we have a lot of those on our list.
And if someone's wanting to make a cash donation, are there routes that they can do that? Or is it strictly books?
There will be eventually. Kirsten is working on the paperwork for us to be a nonprofit. And that was just necessary with wanting to continue this project.
Yes, certainly.
So right now we don't handle any money. We have some shirts that you can buy, that kind of thing, but that's all through a website and everything. Like here at events, we don't handle any money. So I prefer, if usually someone asks about donating or giving money, I would prefer that they just go to the wish list. Those items are shipped directly to us off of that. So one less thing that they have to worry about.
And are those wish lists linked on the Facebook pages?
They are, yes. And if someone wanted to mail something that may be their favorite, they can also message me, and I can give them an address, or I can add it to the wish list for them.
And you mentioned how busy it was here earlier, and it was packed. And for those of you who are listening, there's a lot of adult books. There's also a lot of children's books too.
There are.
And there's a lot of kids here that were pretty excited to get some books. Can you talk about the importance of reading, especially for young people?
I think that the importance of reading starts when they are young. With like I just said, the board books, and reading aloud and reading to them, and just instilling that love of reading at an early age is important. And to see some of the kids here interact with their parents over their love of reading, and the parents talk with them over books that they had read when they were younger. We can talk about a lot of ways that it would help educationally, but I feel like one of the biggest ways that reading can help is the bond that it can bring between a family. The time that you can sit and read with them or read aloud with each other. And that is one of the most important things I feel like with children and reading, is the bond that it can create with a family. My mom is, like I said, she was a teacher. She's a retired teacher, but she was an English teacher. And so my mom can read like no other. And I love still to this day to hear her read, and the voices that she will do for a story. But I remember even before she retired, she was teaching 5th grade, and she was still reading some of the ones that were my favorite out loud to her kids or her students. And I think that they realize that a book doesn't really have an appropriate age. As long as anybody, if they're reading it to you or something like that, I feel like you never get too old for a book.
5th grade, that's a good time for reading tests. I think that's when you first start to kind of
Branch out a little
go
bit.
off on your own and do
Yeah.
different stuff. So that's an exciting time to get people interested in it.
It
So
is.
It's a good opportunity.
So, you're headquartered out of Abington. How did you end up in Carroll County today?
I have a friend, Amy Sennett, and she is a librarian at a couple of different local elementary schools. And I was looking for a location. We try to do one a month, and I didn't do one in January because I knew that it's just so much of a chance of bad weather. So we didn't plan an event in January. And I had reached out to a couple of other locations and not gotten a response from people. So I messaged Amy, and she said, let me call somebody. And within about 30 minutes, she had a contact here at Blue Ridge Fellowship. And this is actually our first indoor event.
Wow.
We were outdoors in Damascus in December. So that was a chilly day.
Yeah.
And we still had huge turnout. So I feel like that, it really shows if you bring it, they will come.
Yeah.
And you had several people here with you today helping you. Who were they?
I had my mom, my husband Josh, and my son Elliot. They are who I consider my packhorse librarians. They're my pack horses. They're the ones that do a lot of the hauling in and out. And a couple, Pam and Larry, they have helped at some of the other events. They just found out about it on Facebook. I didn't know them before this. Joni, she is another one. She found us on Facebook.
Wow.
And she has brought numerous donations, and she was like, this is an event I have time to volunteer at.
Yeah.
So she came up here. Amy, like I said, who found us this location, she volunteered with us today as well. So we really had a good turnout of volunteers today.
You're talking about loading stuff up. It looks like you're taking home a lot less books than what you brought.
We are taking home quite a bit less. Until today, our largest event, I believe, was around 1,500 books that we gave away in Damascus.
And you exceeded that. Wow.
And I feel like we definitely exceeded that today.
That's amazing.
Do you store
And-
these books at your house?
Yes. for now, my husband is very nice and deals with that.
Yeah.
But we have a area in our lower level of our house where we're able to store it, and it's out of the moisture, everything. It's a finished basement area, so we do store them at home for now.
So yes, you did have a very good turnout. And while I was here, I saw you talk to many different people. Can you talk about what you've learned from interacting with all these different people throughout the area?
From all the areas I've been in, I think one thing has been the same is that they can't believe that there's no limit on the amount of gently loved books that they are able to take. And they're so appreciative. A lot of them want to tell stories about the books as they see them, ones that were their favorites. For some, in December, it was stories about how those books were going to be Christmas gifts for their kids. And I remember sneaking a mom a set of books for her to give her son that he had been looking at, and she was going to use them as a Christmas gift. And just, stories about how much joy reading brings to them. And that makes it so much more important than I ever imagined this project could be.
Certainly. If listeners want to contribute in ways that are not donating, how can they help? Can they spread the word? Can they get involved themselves?
Absolutely.
What do you suggest?
Social media right now, with it being free advertising, is the best thing that they can do for us. We have people that have sent things off of our Amazon wish list from all over. We've also had books sent from a school group in Michigan.
Wow.
We've had people from Ohio. One lady from Chattanooga happened to be driving through the area, dropped books off in Abingdon.
Awesome.
Today, we had 150 books brought to us from a church in Franklin, Virginia.
Wow.
They took up donations from their congregation, and a gentleman drove them all here to us. That same church also bought 30 new books off of our Amazon wish list. So, I just ask that people share it. Just share about us, because you never know when someone is going to see something that you share on Facebook, and just like I did, read it. Maybe they love reading as much as you do, or as much as we all do, and that you never know when that one person will decide that they want to volunteer with us, or they may have a box that they want to donate. A lot of people, I've met some very nice people that have just held on to books that they got out of a relative's home that passed away, that kind of thing. But knowing how expensive books are, they didn't want to just get rid of them.
Right.
And they
Yep.
were so excited to find a place to bring them to be where we could get them into the hands of readers.
And do you have a schedule for where you'll be in the upcoming months?
We post on Facebook, and as soon as we get a location confirmed for March, we'll post an event.
Okay.
And that's another thing that we just ask people share, and invite all your book loving friends to follow us. Each location has their own Facebook page. So mine for Southwest Virginia is 21st Century Packhorse Librarians, SWVA. And then the others are different as well.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, we always have a series of questions we'd like to ask people. Ethan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, what advice do you have for younger generations who don't know what they want to do in life? They're just getting out in the world and exploring.
Don't feel like you have to commit to one thing right now. It's okay to change your mind. I think some people try to make you believe that the degree you're getting right now has to be the be-all, end-all. And I feel like you need to know that it's okay to change your mind.
I have one more question before Ethan asks the last one. If your family listens to this in 50 years, people you haven't met yet, what would you like to tell them?
To enjoy life and to enjoy giving back to your community. And that's something that I absolutely love. And find what makes you happy, but also find what you can do to make others happy.
Our last question, it's a little bit of a cliche, but we like to ask everyone who interview it, and it is, what is the meaning of life to you?
You guys are making me tear up. That's weird. I feel like we're put here to enjoy life, and to serve others. And for me, I just want to be the best mom that I can be, the best wife that I can be, and I want to do as much for others as I can. So I think, it's love, it's giving back.
Miss Mattox, it's been an absolute honor to speak with you today.
Thank you all. I've
Thank you.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, we appreciate
Thank
it.
you.